What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk a little bit more about Stellar Blade, some new updates in terms of the game itself, and some also, I guess, controversial things that we've seen and heard about this game as this day has gone on, okay? So earlier, we looked at the reviews, we talked about them, and we're going to largely leave them alone, but to maybe finish up that arc in the story, I do want to say that largely, I think people have left it alone. Now, that's not to say everybody has. I do think IGN Brazil had something pretty negative to say about it. I actually think they put it in terms of a weakness of the game was the look, let's say, of some of these characters. There were a few out there. I saw maybe like 3 or 4, but generally it didn't seem to have too big of an impact on the review itself. Now, that could be wrong, or I could just not be, seeing some of them, but kind of wanted to, end that. Obviously, that's a hot topic, and it's going to continue to be a hot topic over the next couple days. As we've said 1,000 times, like, it is what it is. Like, they look this way for a reason. Shift up, they've talked about it tons of times. We've, gone over their statements, and I'm more than fine with how these characters look. I want a good game, and that's why we talked about the actual review scores and what people were saying. I want this game to be good, and I kind of hope that we can move on. And again, it's not too many people, I think, going after it, which I would say overall is a pretty good thing. So that's number one. Number two, I wanted to just definitively say, I went back to look it up. I mentioned in the review video earlier today, I thought that the game comes out midnight in everybody's time zone. That actually is true, and I think it's because it's a PlayStation exclusive. I don't know if that's the reason, like 100%, but the game will come out at midnight local time. So you're going to have to stay up till midnight your time. As I joked in the video this morning, I guess I got to do it, right? I got to get a good hour or two into this game. So tomorrow I might be up until, 1 or 2 a.m. and then try to no-life this game over the next Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Number 3 is actually a very good update. I want to talk about the New Game Plus thing. So when the game was getting closer, and this happens with a lot of games, and I have actually spoken out against it, like I just don't understand it, most of the time at least. New Game Plus is almost never included in the base game anymore. And, I mean, if you told people that 15 years ago, that would be, like, absolutely nuts, right? But, in modern-day games, things get patched in, things get added over time, and they're all kind of guilty of this. Like, you have big PlayStation games that do it, you have every game that does it. It's not even just PlayStation. So, Stellar Blade going in, I remember them saying 2 things. 1, it won't have New Game Plus at launch, and 2, it will have New Game Plus, just not at launch, right? It'll just come down the line, or it won't come in the base version. Well, it's actually been confirmed that New Game Plus is actually going to come with the game as a day 1 patch. So you're going to have to connect to the internet. See, this is something that I don't mind too much. I'm a game preservation guy. But at the end of the day, again, because of the trend we've seen in gaming quite heavily the last couple of years, I'll totally accept this. Instead of having to wait 2 or 3 months for New Game Plus, you get to get it the day of. So I'm very happy with that. And it's your classic New Game Plus, by the way, right? Like, everything carries over, so you're going to be stronger, going into the new game than you were the first time. And but the story progress obviously doesn't carry over, right? So that is phenomenal. I'm really glad I found that, because I think New Game Plus is a hot topic, and I kind of think it has the right to be, considering we've just decided now that games should never launch with it. And in a way, this game doesn't launch with it, right? It's not in the base game. If you never do the day 1 patch, you don't get New Game Plus. So if you do the day 1 patch, then you'll get it. So I wanted to throw that in. And the final thing, okay? I want to talk about this controversy very briefly. I'm not going to go too in depth, okay? We have, obviously, the characters and their looks, and you might say, well, that's easy enough to handle, or maybe, because it's only one issue, maybe we can actually figure it out as a society. Well, number 1, you're wrong, but number 2, we actually have a second controversy, and this time, it's graffiti on a wall, and it's actually been censored out. And that's a whole kind of separate discussion in and of itself. But basically, there was an image that started circulating earlier today, and it had a graffiti on a wall, and it said hard. And then next to it is a shop, and the like main initial, let's say, is R. So you put those 2 things together, and the word hard was somewhat close to the R. But to be honest with you, I do feel like it was kind of separated enough. I also saw that many people just refer to it as harder, like you're just taking out the E in it, Harder, right? And you just take out the E, and that's what they thought it meant. But, you look at it, hard R. Okay, I mean, I'm not a fan of censoring, really, at all. And we've talked about it with how these characters look, you know what I mean? So look, it's a touchy subject, I suppose, but I feel like if you go down like one way of thinking about it, you kind of make that almost your issue. And I'm not trying to look, I'm not here to offend people. I'm just speaking my own mind. But you have to, at least how I think about it, like these are Koreans. These are Koreans that are doing it. And would they really do, now, like Sony said it was unintentional, right? And I believe that. Does it even need to be censored? Because you think about it, well, okay, maybe most of the demographic that plays this game is Western, so maybe they know what hard R means, you know what I mean? And I should say this, one way of what hard R means, because you know what? Sometimes, and I've seen this actually been said, it can actually refer to like a movie rating. I'm pretty sure I have said potentially like an R rating for a movie film, right? Like a hard R rating. I feel like that's a saying. I feel like I have said that before, and potentially, I mean, look, I've made like 6,000 videos. I would assume or bet that I've maybe said that before. So I got to watch my words, because honestly, I feel like thinking about it in the one way is, number one, I do not think that was how they planned it at all. I feel like they just put the graffiti there and it just kind of lined up. And number two, that's just one way of looking at it. You know what I mean? So for me, I don't think this thing needed to be censored. I feel like it's being blown out of proportion. Now, I should say this. When you click on any of these posts, and I'm proud of this, okay? I'm actually really proud of this from like a community standpoint. If you look at any of these posts of the picture that says it, and then, you know, they censored it out, and now, I don't even know what it says now. It's actually, no, it says crime now. And people are reading into that because it's like, okay, well, if you think of it as like the bad way, right? Hard R. Now they replaced it with crime. So the word hard and what that means, right? That one way of it meaning, they're now replacing it with the word crime. So I got to be real. I don't know if that's actually a better change. I feel like if you follow it down that tone or that way of thinking about it, you may have actually just made it worse. I truly do not think this was meant in that way at all. And, you know, even as I was saying kind of in the middle of this video, like, it's a Western thing. Like, when you look it up, and even if you, like, go on social media and you look, like, people that aren't in the U.S., and maybe it's because of the background that some of the U.S. maybe has, or some of the people, right? I mean, you look at a lot of people's interpretation of it, nobody knew that it actually was offensive in any way. There was actually many people that I think, now, you could say, were they just faking it? But I do believe many people looked at that and said, what is actually the problem with it? I had to think about it. I stared at it and had to think it through. Like, okay, controversial, and they patched it out. And, you know, like, I had to walk myself through it. So I don't know. For me personally, I don't think it should have been removed. You could look at it as a little bit of a worrying sign, right? Because, like, can this be used further? Could they do something where they don't like something about the game, or maybe they don't like the Eve thing? And this is I think what scares people with Sony, or just with companies in general, if they complain enough. And when I say they, I mean really certain people, right? Like, this wasn't everybody that was complaining. This was a small group, but it was a small, powerful group. People with a lot of followers, people with a lot of pull in the gaming industry, they were complaining about it. So for me, honest, like, I know I just spent the last 4 minutes talking about it. The biggest thing that worries me is that dynamic. And we've seen that happen before, and it continues to happen, where, okay, well, down the line, a year from now, a week from now, 5 years from now, like, it doesn't really matter when, right? If certain people complain about a certain thing, can they get it changed? The answer is yes. The answer is absolutely yes. Should it be yes? No, it should not be. It should be, I would say, the majority of people. If the majority of people were complaining, if there was a massive actual, like, petition, if there was emails being sent to Sony and all that stuff, okay, I could see it. But honestly, it was a couple accounts, but accounts that had some pull, and it became a big thing. But like I said, I mean, why I'm kind of proud of what I've seen online, a lot of people laughing it off in the sense of, like, it's either not a big deal, they didn't mean it like that, people are inferring it to mean something, right? Like, that kind of situation, or that kind of way of reading into it, that's what people are, I would say, arguing online. I also think it's kind of just part of the same movement. I think people are just looking for something to be mad about. You know, whether it's the console exclusivity stuff, whether it's the Eve stuff, I feel like it's just a target. Now, did they do some of that to themselves? I mean, they made the characters look this way on purpose, and they've talked about it, right? So you could say like they had it coming because they kind of knew what was going to come if they did certain things, and they did it anyway. But the game's had a target on its back. And as I've said, and I can't wait to freaking play this game, because if this game has issues, I'll be the first one to say it. You know, like nobody can call me anything in regards to this game, right? Like I have supported it. I've made videos, but as you guys have known for again, thousands of videos that I've made, I will call out anything, or I will not call it out if it's not actually there. So I'm excited to see what the game is. I'm excited to see if the game is actually legitimately good or if it actually has some problems, and we can talk about that instead of graffiti in one shot of the game or about how Eve looks, right? Like I'm excited about that other part. So let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on. I hope to see you all on the next one.